Hi, the capstone project is to understand retention and engagement of the millennial employees at the MRM McKinney using some of the data on the current and past employees. And here's the agenda. So the presentation starts with a project review, and it will discuss the analysis we used in the project, and concludes with the recommendations for the company. So here, let me start with the background. The millennial turnover has been a critical issue because according to Gallup, millennials tend to switch companies after 3 years of tenure or less, and Societies of Human Resources Management argues that employees turnover costs companies around 6 to 9 months of the salary and around 50 to 75% of the annual salary, and this becomes a problem when millennials are taking over as the largest portion of the workforce, according to the BLS. And collectively, millennial turnover costs the U.S. economy $30 billion in recruiting, training, and the company operations. So here we can see, like, by comparing with the industry, MIM McKinney has 3,000 current employees, and between 2012 to 2018, there are 2,600 volunteer exits from the employees, and among them, there 1,000 are the millennial employees. As a result, we've come up with two research questions. The first one is, does the attributes of the millennial employees inform their continued employment at MRM? And if yes, which attributes and to what degree? In other words, we want to know what are the factors that are related to the millennial turnover at the company. And based on the initial literature review we conducted at the beginning of the semester, we strongly believe that there will be attributes that can inform us the continued employment. And assuming that our analysis supports our hypothesis in question 1, we have a second follow-up research question, which is, what is expected tenure of a given employee? And we hope to be able to use the factors we identified from question 1 to provide estimates. So here is my part for the correlation analysis. For the first question, we want to find out what are the attributes that that are most correlated to the millennials' tenure at the company. So we decided to use the correlation analysis. So here we use the correlation analysis because it can tell us how much an independent variable seems to affect a dependent variable. And in this case, millennials' tenure are affected by their attributes. And there are several types of correlation analysis but we choose decision tree regression because it allows us to analyze linear relationships for both categorical data like gender and numerical data like age, and demonstrates the relative significance of the independent variables predicting the dependent variables. And this will allow us to see whether there are significant relationships, and if yes, which variables are there. So here is the plot of the decision tree. And as I mentioned before, we used employee variables like ages and promotions as the independent variable and their tenure at the company as the dependent variable. The analysis breaks down our data set from MRM and creates the decision tree consisting of decision node and leaf nodes. So here we can see here the top one node is called decision node because it is the most correlation. It has the strongest correlation to the target. And here is a closer look at the decision tree. So we can see from the top, the decision node is promotion, and it splits into the age node with promotion and the age node without promotion. So each node is split into two nodes according to a certain pattern in the attribute, and the leaf node with the model would be able to calculate the correlation of each node with a single pattern, and the leaf node with the highest correlation to the target will rank higher in the decision tree. And here are our findings in the list of from the most significant correlation to the smallest correlation. So from it, we can see that promotion, age, and business titles have the largest correlation to millennials' tenure at the company, and ethnicity, gender, and full-time, part-time status have the weakest correlations. And since it is hard for us to show the entire decision tree, we made a few graphs to show that our findings make sense. And we found that millennials with promotion stayed on average twice as long as those who did not get the promotion. And we also see that employees with different titles have significantly different employment duration at the company, while while a senior architect team leader stayed in the company on average for 5 years. Junior analyst, junior designer, and associate copywriter only stayed on average for less than 3 months, and that's a big difference between these two groups. And we also find a supervisor has a significant relationship with their employees' tenure. So here we test the average tenure for the millennials under each supervisor, and the results shows that the top 3 supervisors have employees with an average tenure duration for around 7 years, while the worst supervisors have employees with an average tenure duration uh, for less than 3 months. And interestingly, we found that most of these best and worst supervisors all worked at the marketing relationship marketing. We believe this ranking list can help the company to have a better looking at the problem and to have the direction for solving the millennial tenure problems. And from the feedbacks, we know that the real world is more complicated than we thought. So, for example, the promotion is not the company cannot just simply give promotion to any employees, and there has to be a promotion, has to be a available position for someone to get promoted. So as a result, for the further analysis, we need to conduct additional analysis on the operational systems in the company and find its relationship to the data we have to find whether the promotion can be improved, can improve the millennials' tenure at the company. And another improvement we can make is to compare the data with the current employee and the employee who has left the company, because currently we only use the data of the regular millennials who left the company for the model, and by comparing the two data sets, we may find out more interesting patterns or results that can help the company to solve the problem. And now that we know that certain factors inform us of the millennial retention, we can use these findings to answer the second research question, which is what is the expected tenure for a given employee? And our approach is to use the survival analysis to solve this problem. Survival analysis and analyze the data set where the outcome is the time until event of interest happens. In our case, the event of interest is when an employee leaves a company, and we want to predict when it happens. So the model we use is the Kaplan-Meier estimator, which is a type of survival analysis. The estimator allows us to input the factor that contribute to the employee's retention at the company, and the output would be the prediction of how long an individual is expected to stay at the company with a probability. And when consider all the predictors, the survival curve using Kaplan-Meier shows as time increases, the probability of an employee staying at the company will decrease. And in particular, 75% of the millennial regular employees stay will stay after 1.5 year. 50% of the millennial regular employees will stay after a bit over 3 years, and only 25% of the millennial regular employees will stay after 4 years. So, if we break the employees down to three groups, the one who were fired, the one who quit voluntary, and the one who are still staying in the company, we can see that the difference between the people are let go, the difference between the people who are let go and the people who quit are bigger than we thought. In particular, the green curve shows survival time of the quitters, and the pink curve shows the people who are fired. And the green and red areas are corresponded to the curves show confidence interval of each. And we can see that pink has a larger area than green, which means the variance of people who are fired is bigger than the people who are voluntarily quit. So moreover, when look at specific category variables, gender and martial status, it doesn't show much difference within the group, as survival curves for male and females are about the same, and survival curves for people who are married are not all about the same as well. We will show a demo about the production of these curves later. And for the numerical data, we decided to use Cox proportional hazard model, which takes account of both categorical and numerical variables and can examine the effects of several variables to determine how long an employee is expected to stay at the company. We use this model to predict the individual employees on the validation set, and the accuracy of the prediction is around plus minus 15 days. And it shows that the majority of the current active employees are expected to stay at the company for about 1,000 days, which is about 3.3 years since they are hired. And here are the summary of our findings. So we use the correlation analysis to determine that there are top factors that can contribute to the millennials employees' tenure at the company, and the top factors are promotion, age, and business title. And we then use the survival analysis to predict the millennial employees' probability of being at the company after a given amount of time. And finally, we use the Cox proportional hazard model to predict the length of stay for any given millennial by inputting the characteristics specific to them. And we also find some research to prove our findings. So for example, the first for promotion, we find that Berhardt and Schoons conducted a study where they find that promotion and discretionary turnover behavior or voluntary turnover behavior found that number of promotions is negatively correlated with someone's turnover intention, provides tangible benefits such as data, skill development, and job satisfaction. And we also find for the supervisors, Sean and Ansberg conducted a study on employee and employer relationship and analyzed the social exchange theory in context of the workplace. And for the age factor, we found that Tracy Hayes at Wharton University conducted a study on demographic characteristics that predicted turnover behavior and found a significant relationship between the employee's age and opportunity for promotion on the turnover behavior among millennials. And for the weak predictors, we find that for martial status, Crowley found that martial status had no significant correlation with someone's turnover intention. And since our results suggest that gender is a weak predictor for turnover behavior, we found that it is supported by Gerber's study that argue an employee's gender has no relationship to the employee's turnover behavior. And therefore, we feel good that the academic literature are in line with our analytical results. So based on the findings, we recommend that MRM McKinsey to take a two-pronged approach to improve the retention of the millennial employees. The first initiative is to retain the current millennial employees themselves, And the second initiative is to improve the company that contributed to the millennials deciding to leave. So the first step is to uh, the first step is that time promotion is better. Step 2 is improve the management training, and the step 3 is reevaluating the roles to hire. For the first step, we find that the average stay of the millennials at the company is 2.99 years, and the average time that they quit the company is 1.57 years. However, we find that the average time that they can get promotion is 1.88 years. That means there's a gap between the time they quit and the time they get promoted. So if they can inform or indicate that a longer staying at the company will lead to a promotion, it will improve their tenure at the company. And second is to improve the management training given to supervisors. So based on the correlation analysis, supervisors have a significant impact on the employee stay, and we believe that kinds of trainings can improve the effectiveness of a supervisor. And based on the findings that millennials want feedback and see areas of growth, we recommend that training incorporate how to give feedback and setting quantifiable SMART goals should be the key points for training the supervisors. And the third is to evaluate and revisit the roles that the organization hire for. And based on the facts that business titles which have above average length of stay tend to be non-junior roles with older individuals, we think that McKinsey should consider hiring more experienced or mid-level hires rather than recent graduates or entry-level jobs. And finally, we used all our findings from our analysis and design an interactive dashboard, which we believe MRM McKinsey can use to understand the millennials' retention. So the dashboard has three parts: the location map, results panel, and the data table. The first graph shows the location map, which gives the user a straightforward insight of the geographic location of the employees in different business units. And this is a screenshot which shows the location of all the current employees. And the second page is the results panel, which will calculate the length of stay and the likelihood of millennial regular employees staying at the company based on the different inputs. And the last one is the data table to show the detailed data based on the choosing of characteristics. And it is very easy to use and can be accessed by any mobile or phone through the URL. And this is the presentation. Thank you for listening.